Anti-LGBTQ plus hate will be the focus of a House Oversight Committee hearing.
So I actually tuned into a little bit of this. A panel of individuals speaking about and from the LGBTQ plus community in regards to the violence that we have seen over the last couple of years that has increased, over the growing communication through social media of hate speech and antagonistic speech. And as these individuals would, speak about their experiences, for example, the owner of Club Q was there to basically give testimony to their experience. There were survivors from Club Q as well as from Pulse nightclub in Orlando giving their perspective on what this looks like. What is the landscape of anti-LGBTQ violence in this country? And what we saw was a straight division between Republicans and Democrats. There was a division where Democrats wanted to speak about the violence that is being experienced, the language of antagonism that is being perpetrated, and the Republicans wanted to say, you know what? Everybody experiences violence. Everybody experiences hate. So why are we talking about just LGBTQ plus people? This committee did not want to move forward. It was stonewalling, and it was basically an effort to put side against side, just as it's been anywhere else. Republicans did not want to listen to the individuals who actually were involved in those events. In a related story, the Club Q owner read to Congress the hate mail that they have gotten after the shooting. The Matthew Haynes, who is the owner of Club Q in Colorado Springs, sat there in front of these politicians and read to them directly the comments that people have spewed out through social media, through direct letters to the victims of the violence that has been perpetrated. He read an example. I woke up to the wonderful news that 5 mentally unstable F-slurs and lesbians and 18 injured. The only thing I'm mad about is that the F-slurs had the courage to subdue the wonderful killer. I hope more shootings happen. Have a blessed day. Another person. The shooter was doing God's work. 5 less F-slurs. Not enough. Those that stopped him are the devil. All gays should die. But Republicans refuse to admit that that violence was targeted at LGBTQ plus people.
The rhetoric that comes out of what our politicians are saying and these talking heads has an effect on our society to foster this violence or incite it.
Well, and I will go one step further. It's not even that. They are denying responsibility. Mm-hmm. I sat and I listened to these elected officials sitting in a House of Representatives committee meeting telling representatives of the LGBTQ plus community that it was not the fault of politicians that this violence and rhetoric has been increasing. None of them took responsibility for any of the legislation that has been written to directly demean and remove LGBTQ plus people and their rights from the public. They have not acknowledged that they have had a role in increasing this, and they did not do anything to talk about the Republican Party members who have used intentionally inflammatory language and derogatory terms to speak about LGBTQ plus people without any foundation, proof, or evidence that actually associates those individuals with the names that they have received. So they are willing to ignore the facts in front of them and their duplicity in actually being a part of the writing of and the creation of legislation.
So what is the key point of this hearing? What is supposed to come of it? And how is this Republican denial of culpability, of any responsibility at all, how is that going to affect the intended outcome of this hearing?
So the outcome of the hearing was basically it was a draw, but the loudest voice was the Republicans. The loudest voice was the Republicans because what they wanted to do was they wanted to poke at the Democrats and say, the Democrats are wanting to divide us. The Democrats are only wanting to blame Republicans. The Democrats are only doing this as some way to push off their own faulty agendas. I actually heard one of them accuse a sitting member of the House of Representatives for the increasing crime in her home district because of her policies. As I am listening to these individuals say it is the Democrats who are to blame, they are deflecting all blame off of themselves. The individuals who just eat that stuff up, who will not use one bit of critical thought in their head, they are basically going to say, here's yet another example of how Democrats are trying to push this woke agenda on us, this woke agenda that is going to corrupt the American public. That's all that's going to be heard. None of the violence that has actually been done was even really acknowledged.
Meanwhile, we see the Republican agenda actually tangibly affecting the public's view of the LGBT community and the increase in violence that we've all felt.